so the other day, I got an offer for $25 on a golf polo, one of those like new trendy golf polo brands. It's like Swag Golf. And I had it listed for $49.99 and it was up for 2 weeks. And like I take a lot of offers. Again, I don't take all of them either. It has to be profitable. And if it's something, let's say if it was like listed for $400, I'm not gonna take 20, like that's kind of stupid. But a lot of the time, like I'd say I list things, between 30 and $100 or so. And then so like the offers aren't that unreasonable below that. Okay, so so yes, I take most of the offers but I always would have it in my head like, oh, am I just like throwing away money? Am I like cheap selling items? Like, am I doing this wrong? At the end of the day, like other people making more than me because they're waiting out for more of the money kind of thing. So I decided, and I knew in my head, I was like, I thought about it before, and I know how like compounding works, whatever, but I was like, let me just write it out and like have it like cemented in my head or just see what's going on. So I took and I wrote out that my average cost of goods so far this year is $3.40. Like I said, I listed the shirt for $49.99, which was in line with comps. It was like a newer brand though, so it's like not like one of those like cemented comps kind of thing. It was just kind of like, $49.99. Like maybe it was like on the higher end, let's say a little bit on the higher end. And then that I got the offer after 2 weeks for $25. So, so with option A, if I accept the offer, after I put in the eBay fee calculator and everything. So after fees and the shipping label, and it ended up selling out promoted at 13%, it was 1785 back to my bank account. And then for a reference, it would be that it was a $14.45 profit if you would subtract out the cost of goods from that. So, like I said, that was 2 weeks. Okay, so for me, I calculated yesterday when I added in like Poshmark sales and everything, my sell-through rate right now is a month and a half. So I did a comparison to like what happens in that time of like, let's say in 90 days compared to when I take the offer or if I didn't take the offer. So if I took the offer, I'm left with the 1785 back to my bank account. And with that, with my average cost of goods, I can buy 5 more. Let's say either, like you can think of it as like 5 more of those polos or 5 more of just like the comparable things that you could list about for that much money, right? So if I will go out and buy 5 more because I accepted their offer, and let's say they all sell for at least $25 in 1.5 months, that ends up being $89.25 to my bank account, and then which is $72.25 profit after you'd subtract out the cost of goods. And the cost of goods subtracting out, I calculated from doing 340 times 5, and I minus it out of the $89.25. Okay. But like I said, you get the $89.25 back to your bank account. And because mine's about a month and a half, I did it one more cycle. So because I had the $89.25, I would divided that by 340. You can buy 26 more of them then. And let's say again, they all sell for at least $25 in 1.5 months, and then you're left with $464.10 to your bank account, which would be $375.70 profit from just the one cost of good when I accepted a 50% off offer. The other option would have been option B. I could decline it and be like, no, that's how insulting. How dare they send me 50% offers? Everyone lowballs me, blah, blah. Or I could have countered, and I don't know what I could have countered. Like, let's say it's a 25, let's say would have done 42 or something like that. And then they ghost me. So then instead of doing all this and making the 464, I could end up with, at the end of that time, with $0 and a polo shirt. Or at the best case scenario, it ends up selling full price at the end of that time period, and that's $33.41 to my bank account, which is only $30.01 profit. So to me, this writing all this out helped, and now I like have it like where I work basically, just in case I like question it again, because it's like I obviously want the 464, not the 30. Why wouldn't I? And again, it was again like a $400 thing that they're offering $10. Okay, no, that's different. Or if my cost of goods were much higher, then that wouldn't make sense. But luckily they're low. So
that right there on a piece of paper is what we call the art of compounding. And this is something I've been struggling with repeatedly, and Meg and I have talked about repeatedly. And I also have been doing these exercises and writing this stuff down because, I'll sell something, day one on a really hefty discount, 30, 40%. But I can turn, in the month of January, I was very lenient with the offers I was taking. I was very lenient with say, I was really moving stuff along, and I ended up selling within one item the same amount that I listed for January. And my bank account exploded, right? Am I sitting here upset and sad saying, "Oh, I shouldn't have taken that 35% offer on that one brooch"? No, I'm like, "Heck yeah." I've got all these great sourcing opportunities. My bank account is fat, so I think you doing that, Meg, is a really good
I always
reminder.
had that in my quad. Like I would be like okay with things, and then I would randomly sit there and like ponder it. And now I'm like, okay, now I don't need to ponder it anymore. I see it. It's fine. Like, because I knew about compounding. I knew in theory, like you accept more offers, your money multiplies faster. But to write it out, like, made the difference.
And then we need to also keep in mind if you're sourcing crap and she had low cost crap, it wouldn't really work as well, right? So you don't have to have throw it out of the park bangers. If she was just filling it up with cheap stuff that doesn't have a good sell-through rate, it doesn't really work the same. But if you're
No,
doing,
because you need that. Like I said, it's like a month and a half. So if it wasn't, if I had a year-long sell-through rate, then it doesn't work that way at all.
and I'm not sure, and this is something I'm going to cover in the when I go through my process, to try to show you guys is, um, I'm not sure how people full-time caveat full-time. So like if you're part-time and this is just and you want to hang on to your you've got antiques or whatever slow stuff and this is just something you do, that's fine. You hang on to it, whatever. But if you're trying to make a full-time living off of it, I don't know how people are not if you're not moving your stuff along, how the cash flow ends up working out really well, like how your bank account's growing every week and how you're cash flowing it, unless you have a huge store, then I think, why do we want huge stores when we can have, Meg, remind everybody how small your store is because you turn stuff over so fast you can't get it to grow.
Yeah, I'm at 220 right now. Which I want to be bigger than that just because it would be nicer to have. It does give you a little bit more of a cushion and maybe less volatile. Because if I take a few days out, like I was sick for a week with the flu and barely did anything, and my store died. Whereas if I had a bigger store, it wouldn't have died so quickly. But I think it's just kind of like it gets in that pattern or relies on you to like keep you to make that what I said work. You have to replace it with good stuff every single day, and like good or better than or equal to. Have low cost of goods, have a fast sell through rate, or like make stuff sell and make it have fast sell through rate. It doesn't work.
What she just said is really important. You can make your items if they're decent items, not crap. Decent items, you can force a sell-through rate. Absolutely can. And if you can't, and I've said this several times, if you can't manipulate your store to all of a sudden dump a bunch of cash in your lap, you might want to reevaluate what you're putting in your store. Because I can absolutely manipulate it to like, okay, I have a bill in a couple weeks, I need some money, or I have an opportunity. I can absolutely make myself have a, couple $1,000 weekend really quick. And if you can't, either your pricing's really bad or your items are bad. And I know that sounds blunt, but it's true. You can force, and I've seen Meg do it over and over and over. Um,
Because sometimes it
it
means
works.
taking it down and lining them up together, clothing or jewelry. Because I realized, oh, this was bad, or this will never sell, or like I don't want it to sell for only $2. Let me just lot them up, get them out.
Yep. And so while I've been evaluating, when I had my freak out moment last week, part of it was for one, I need to make every listing count, which of course I know better, but I need to not like when I have an item I prepped and I'm ready to list it and it's in my bag for the day, and all of a sudden I realize I'm gonna probably get under 20 bucks for it. And because I do believe in super saturated markets, clothing and jewelry, not everybody, I'm just saying promoting high is the secret sauce. It just is. So that means my cost of goods has to stay down to make that happen. But then all of a sudden I'll take the item that really is probably 15 bucks and I'll price it at 24.99 because I don't list things under 20 bucks. Well, it's going to sit there forever because it wasn't a 24.99 item and I'm trying to squeeze money out of it that wasn't ever there. So I am making sure, so I have, my queue, right, guys? I'm very particular about my queue. I have like a 60-day queue still from, when I stocked up for my surgery. And I just I had gotten a few orders in. And so I have that queue and I actually am digging out my queue and I'm making small lots in my queue because I need to make every listing count. Now, will I take a really deep offer on those listings still? Absolutely, I will. but I need to not have those lower dollar items anymore. And those small lots that I can put up for 30, 40, 50 bucks, to me, that makes every listing count. Because if you're not running your eBay fee calculator and you don't know your numbers, get that thing out and you do that spreadsheet like we did. And I did one at different promotion rates, and I also did one at different buy costs. And I have to keep my average cost of goods sold really low because I'm taking those offers, I'm getting things move along, and to be able to sell through what I list every single month. Of course, that's not going to work every month, but if you can keep your sell through rates, I imagine yours is close, isn't it, Meg?
What?
Where you're selling it close to what you're listing.
It's at almost 200% when I put in the Poshmark stuff now. I'm like 2 sales short.
Right. And Meg lives off this money. This is her only income.
Well, dang. Congratulations. That's great.
She's not
It could be a
selling
lot
those
better. I
things.
just have to double the velocity though. But like I said, like the minute I back off or I get sick or I feel sad or I don't know, it's like not the right temperature in the room. And if I don't do what I need to do for a few days, like it kind of dies and I'm like, oh crap. And then so I don't get the momentum sometimes to grow the store more. Yeah.
And that's true. But she's not selling. A few of you guys that I've had in private coaching, I've actually given you Meg's store and said, look at this. She's not selling those like, oh my God, where are you finding this stuff? She's selling stuff that's middle of the road. She's pricing correctly. She's taking the offers. She's promoting appropriately to her category, and she's running through it. And that's really my model too. Her model is pretty much what my model is. And like yesterday, I said it to Megan Lynn. I'm like, did I screw this? Because I started getting offers right away on these rings that like weren't special. Whatever. And I think I listed it at $99, which was probably a little high. Somebody offered me 60. I've got $5 into it. Same day, within 2 hours listing it. Heck yeah, I'm taking it. I'm rolling with it because, like, look what I can go do with that money. And if I started getting weird about this stuff, and when we're making things move down the line faster, we could do that in different ways. I'm going to do a call, even though I'm going to get like lots of crap for it because I could feel it coming off you guys already. My whole promoting correctly thing, love it, right? I don't love giving eBay extra money, but I sure love when that number is huge because it means there's even more money in my bank account. And in certain categories, not everybody, certain categories, if you ever want your items to be seen, you have to promote appropriately because they have 60,000 other choices. In one-offs, so like Jen and Rowdy, right? They're selling like stupid freaking salt and pepper shakers, or I don't know, things I don't want to ever sell, but people are typing that into eBay to find it. And they're promoting it 5%, their highest promotion rate, and they're selling exactly how much they want to sell. Because people have to search those one-off items out. So that's a little different game. If you're just selling a regular t-shirt and some old jewelry that isn't, you got to get seen for them to buy it. And it's just a fact. And Meg has too, I know, and I'm sure a few of you have, but I have done some, I've done different things with the promoted rating. And unfortunately, that's something I can't give up. So what does that mean? It means I have to buy in a way that I can afford to promote high. So
Barry,
yeah,
I thought
so
it was like that too.
Yeah.
I thought it was like that too for me, but since I started doing that price dropping strategy,
Mm-hmm.
the last few weeks, over 90% of my sales are organic, even with everything in my store promoted.
Yeah, see, mine's not. Even so,
It's like
I have over
80%.
3,000. Yeah, so I have like over 2,000 followers that come to my store all the time, and I still am way like 80% promoted.
Yep.
It just is. The more I kind of look at it, like the more that people are looking for your item, whether it's name brand, you sell good name brand clothes. You sell, oh, if I only had Trafaris, if I only had good Trafaris, if I only had, Florenzas and Trafaris and, things people are going to find by searching a name brand, those are a whole lot easier to make go organic. But so much of our stuff, people find it on accident when they're just scrolling through eBay. And to find it by accident sales, you have to have them show up for people.
So you don't
So-
promote.
All right, there's tons of Trafari out there, so you still would it's still
There is.
necessary to promote. So, in my opinion,
That's
So you
true.
still promote all the name brands?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Because I got real, see, every time I go to get Precious, it makes sense me her shaking head emoji because she knows I know better. She knows I know better, and I do know better. But every once in a while I go, well, I'm not going to promote high on my Trafaris or my like my good name brand stuff because people are going to find it. And then she'll like, okay, like let me know. And then, every time I'm like, okay, well, crap, now none of it sells. So this is a problem. And then I go searching in that category. Well, there's still like 10,000 of them. So if I'm not on page 1 or 2,
Mm.
there's
Meg,
pages
you're
and pages.
promoting everything too, huh?
Oh,
Meg.
absolutely.
Oh yeah, I lately because it's always in flux kind of, but I've always promoted high, but like the exact strategy has changed. But lately I have like 4 levels where like about half my store is the highest level, which is like 15.1, and then another, I don't know, what did I say half? So another more than a quarter. I don't know. I'm being bad at math right now. The second the second largest group of that would be like 10.1, and then if it's like really 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 good sell through rate, I can tell like it's one of those like clear cut ones. Then I'll do it at like 5 or 7.
So
But that
what's
still
the
just makes me
highest?
uncomfortable.
What's the highest you guys are gonna do? How high will you go?
15.1.
And
Yeah,
what
I
about
do
you?
over 15.
Jeez. Okay.
And if I move mine even, if I take sections of my store and I move it even 12, bad news for me.
Probably all
Henry.
my jewelry is at 15 too. Like the ones that are lower, the clothing ones.
Yep. Like my sales will go from, and so yes, I understand that we can have lots of sales and no profit, but my cost of goods is low enough that I'm fine, and my net profits, I need to net profit over 2 grand a week to make my business work the way I want it to work. And if I don't promote, that number goes in the toilet. So Larry says his jewelry's at 15. For most everything else, it's eBay +2. I think that's a good strategy. In clothing, I feel like because we can get a much more accurate, higher sell-through rate, like Meg can go do her research and and you could do this on mostly newer jewelry too. And you could see like, oh, this like is 100% sell-through rate. Well, then I probably would not be promoting that high, right? Because it's going to sell itself. However, and jewelry is just really slow sell-through rate in general. It's slow sell-through rate. If you go do your research, it's really slow unless you have like some of my high-end KJLs have a better sell-through rate. But instead, I price them up just a little bit, but I promote the crap out of them, and then they sell faster, and I still get the same amount of money. That's what I do. I price it up just a little bit to make up for the difference, and it still sells really fast, except I get a little bit more money. Yeah, jewelry's a beast. And clothes, if you're selling the same thing that everybody else is around you, got to be able to show up on the list.
Yeah.
eBay says he
Well,
gives
I showed
away a lot
Carrie
of money.
the yesterday was I was watching the rest of the women's clothing call yesterday, and Melanie had done a search, just was it plaid grunge or something like that, and I happened to look up and I'm like, oh, that's mine. Like I had just listed it the night before, and mine was the #1 search for literally just plaid grunge, no like narrowing down, and it was a #1 of 30,000 listings. So I'm like, well, that's cool. So, and then that same day it sold. And then luckily I had seen that there was 2 similar ones at that same store. I went back and got them and both put them at 10.1% too. And one sold the same day I listed and the one sold the next day. I think, and I joked to Carrie, I was like, I'd have 3 ugly skirts right now if I didn't promote these.
Yep. Got to be on the, and if you haven't searched for your items, you're going to be the best person to be able to search for your own items because you know exactly how to find them, right? You should be able to find them. So go in on incognito mode, which is very important because otherwise they're going to pop your stuff up for you anyway. Go in on incognito mode and search for your stuff. And if you're not finding them, nobody else is finding them easily either. Oh, I got recommended to myself on YouTube today for the first time when I was searching for eBay. I was very happy about that. I was like, hey, I was like, eBay videos. That's the first time that I'm like, oh, and then it freaked me out. And I was like, don't recommend that anymore to me. It
So
was,
I've got a question. Once you start promoting at that high, and what if you pull back on it? Are you gonna get
so
get your hand slapped and then now you're
here's the
not
thing,
gonna
Lisa.
sell?
People say you get punished.
Yeah.
No, you get the traffic you're paying for.
Mhm.
So if you want to call that a hand slap, if you promote at 10%, you're going to get the traffic you're paying for at 10%. If you've been used to promoting at, let's say, 15%, you're
Mhm.
getting the traffic that pays for.
Mhm.
So it probably feels like getting your hand slapped, but you're getting what
Yeah.
you're paying for.
Yeah, I get you. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
People
Mm.
call it a punishment, but not really. And I'm fine with the fact that the biggest thing on YouTube lately has been like leaked from eBay customer service that anything over 8% doesn't count anymore, because that's fine. Then everybody will go down to promoting that and my stuff
Yeah.
will be first all the time.
Works for me.
It's marketing. Yeah. In what position, in what business do we get to market at 15%? Because every corporate job I've ever had or any small business I've ever had, my marketing budget was 30%. It's very common. That's very standard practices. That's what our marketing budget is. So I don't think we're getting away that bad, but if you're part-time, like I said, and you want to hang on to your items and love them and kiss them and appreciate them for life, that is totally fine. But if you're trying to actually like cash flow, make this your cash cow, and haven't you ever heard tech say, I take the offer because it doesn't matter. I need the money. We need the money. The money matters.
They're
Keep the money
widgets.
rolling. Huh?
They're widgets.
They're widgets. It doesn't matter. And
Except
if
for
we're
this one really
counter
pretty
offering,
sweater, I priced up 30% and I've worn it a few times now. And now I'm ready to let it go. I dropped the price down to normal pricing. But besides that, they're all widgets.
and once your store gets to be over 2,000, I totally agree with Meg's steps there philosophy a little bit. Like I kind of get that and it makes sense to me. But because I have so many dang items, I'm not going through all of them. They got to be on a campaign. I can't handle it. It takes too much time for me to overthink my stuff. Can't. If I had a really small store, I'd probably do the same thing she does.
Yeah.
But if
It's
I
not, yeah, if you have a small store in a perfect world, everything would be individualized. But as it grows bigger, that's not realistic. 'Cause
handle it.
even
I
Tech said
try.
that too. If he had a small store, he would do every single item a different percentage promoted. So
But he said because he doesn't, he plays the game and he
Yeah.
makes this campaign and lets it ride. But he also every time, like, well, what about when you did that? And he's like, it doesn't matter, right? And there are times where my older stuff, where it's either old stuff or stuff I should have never listed. It's cheap crap that I shouldn't have listed. Thought it was pretty or something. And sometimes it's only been up for a month or two. Does that mean that I should have listed it? No, it's so sometimes I break even, right? I should be grateful to get my money back out of some of this stuff because it wasn't worth probably what I even paid for it. And so if I can get my money back, I'm sourcing better, I do better. I just keep the ball rolling. Kevin. If I'm supposed to hear you, I can't.
Were you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was leaving my house. So, you know how the Wi-Fi is. If you want to connect, you can't connect. But if you're trying to disconnect, it'll hang on to it for dear life. I have taken almost every offer I have been given since about end of October, middle November, I'm guessing. You know, if you know what's his name, Jack Weaver, who runs Tech's media call. It's all about compounding. I mean, you take just those few extra dollars you're going to make, and you apply it to the next thing, and apply it to snowball effect. And ever since I started doing that, I mean, we've just turned money hand over fist. And I listened to a call. Is either Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, and it may have been the absolute best call of the entire year. And a person was saying that the person with the most sales usually makes all the money. So I've taken those two philosophies, and we have basically in the past 4 months went from averaging about say 1,400 gross a week to now just shy of 1,800 a week. And I'm not stopping because I do not love my items. I like them, but I love the money more.
I don't love them at all. I don't like jewelry anyway. I appreciate some more, right? I appreciate some art, like I sold a bug necklace this week that I really thought somebody pop on it for like over $100 right away. And it probably really takes a special buyer. But then another special buyer had like $50 cash to give me. And it had been up for like 6 months. So then I decided that bug was worth $50 because what good is it going to do for me to hang on and 6 months down the road, I get $100, right? When I could have turned that money over, like on Meg's sheet, over and over and over. It's a lot of money, $50. And my average cost of goods is like $3,
I
right?
like how you said, and then I decided it was worth 50 because that happens so often in your head where you're like, I decided it was worth this and then you get an offer and you're like, yeah, it's worth 50. I'll take that.
Yep, and
Especially with
because
jewelry, because like you don't know, there are such unique things a lot of the times. You don't know. And
Yeah.
I think this, there's no exact comp on it. Like I'll give it a good try, And then as soon as I realize no one else loves it as much as I do, all right, time to
Yeah.
get my money back sometimes.
in my head, I visualize somebody with a bundle of cash every time I get an offer going like this, and then my item sitting here. And sometimes I think my item's probably, worth a counter offer, right? A lot of the time I think, well, that is some green money. Or I look at my item and think, wow, I can't believe that thing actually sold. Better take whatever I could get, right? And I know that if I could take a $10 offer, I shouldn't have listed the thing anyway. So that's when I'm looking at it like, what was I doing? Like, why did I list that individually? It needed a friend, at least one. It needed a friend. It should have been in a lot. And so do I hardly make crap when I take that? No, but then I'm like, okay, I'm out of it because it shouldn't have been there anyway. Out of it. Sometimes we need to be grateful that we made it out alive on an item because sometimes we don't deserve it. We just don't deserve it. And I have lots of those myself. And so I feel like that's a real point. So I really liked Meg's post. I think it's exactly how I feel. And I have had at least a $5,000 gross week for weeks now. And then I started thinking, well, my stuff sells really good. I really don't need to promote that high anymore. And then it went, we're 5,000, and my net profits though are still really good, but they weren't, right? So because I have all this stuff still when I knocked it down, so I get all this great stuff I can sit around and enjoy, but my bank account went, what happened? Like, what did you do to me? And it made me sad too. And I'm like, this isn't worth it to me. So, or I think what I did too is I took off my sale. Like usually I have a little bit of a markdown. And so Meg goes, so if this happened with your prices, what would you tell us? Because you take your markdown sale off and your sales stop, what does that mean?
I
Well,
think you were
yeah,
like, I'm gonna put everything up 10 more %. So then I room for offers. And that's when I said that. I was like, you would not tell us to do that.
You know what he would do? It didn't mark. So what I heard Meg say was, so if things are only selling when I have my 20% sale on, they were priced too high. I priced them too high. And that 20% gets them to market. So we also have to be really careful when we start talking to ourselves like, okay, I took a 20% off markdown, then I took a little bit of an offer, like another 10%, and now I promote it, whatever. So that means I'm like giving away 80% of my item or whatever. Those percentages are really variable and they're very subjective to our starting point, right? So if you're starting off rock bottom price, that is true. But I think a lot of us don't start at the best price. So then it's not true anymore. So all those percentages combined are very subjective, especially in things like a used shirt or a used piece of jewelry. Now, if you're selling solid gold or silver, different. That's different, right? They have they have a value. But our used stuff, we should be glad anybody ever offers us anything on some of this stuff. And also, if we're counter offering $1 or $2, what the hell is wrong with you? I hate that. What is it worth it to you? Is that extra dollar or $2? Is it changing your life?
Especially
Is
after
it
fees,
really?
it's not $1 or $2, it's $1 or $2 after fees and everything are taken off.
Yeah, it's not. And like, so sometimes, so I have one lady that she puts in sometimes $500-600 worth of orders a week. I'm sure she's stocking a store with it, whatever. But I think back to it, and I think she had made me a bunch of offers to begin with the first time we'd had this relationship. And I think back to myself, if I'd counter offered her on all those by $2-3, maybe I wouldn't have that relationship I have now. Maybe she would have went away and thought stingy bitch and went down the road. Because I do it sometimes when I get a counter offer for a couple bucks, and it's just because of who I am and what I do, right? Like it's who I am is in the fact that I preach to people all day long about it, and the preaching to it part would come back to me, and people counter offer me a couple bucks. I go, you can just keep your couple bucks. And I move on down the road a lot of times. So how often is that happening in your store? People are like, you can just
Frequently.
keep it. Frequently.
Frequently that happens. And it's because of my pricing structure now. The stuff when it gets down to like $12, $15, everybody's offering me 10. And at $10 after fees and stuff, I only make like $2.
And
Or
you
$3
actually
off of
pay
it.
shipping too. And you have a
Yeah.
larger item to ship.
Yeah. So then I always, if I'm at 14, they come 10. I always go 12 in the middle. If they buy it, they buy it. If they don't, deal with them. I
So
don't
when you
care.
get down to break even points, that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true in the fact that if I'm breaking, so my break even, I don't like if I'm at 10 and if we have our spreadsheet with our 1 to 100 or whatever, you know exactly what these points are. And it's got to be an item where I'm like, I need to just get out of it, right? It's not a viable item. And so I will take even a little bit of a loss when it wasn't a viable item. I'm also not paying shipping on 10, 15 bucks or fees on shipping on, on shoes are heavy, but he knows that because he's done the numbers. He knows where his break even points are. So absolutely, but to me, that's a lot different than counter offering a $30 offer on something on a couple bucks. When you start getting down to that, I agree with that. Like when you're right at your, okay, I can chuck it in a junk box, but then maybe we need to be, if that's happening to us all the time, then maybe we need to be rethinking what we're picking up, right? But if he's just getting down to everybody's going to have that tail enders, and those we may make different decisions on.
Well, what I noticed is the stuff that's happening on, and that those are the prices that are getting down, but they were $20, $21 items that I've had for a year. And now that I'm pricing them down every week, they're going down and down and down. When they get around the $13 to $15 mark, I start getting a bunch of cheap lowball offers.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's stuff that I don't really care about. And I'm not buying that stuff anymore. So once it's gone, those are going to be over. It's just a matter of getting rid of it. But
And
I
see-
don't want to give it away. I mean, I still feel like it's worth $1 or $2.
Right. And I feel
Yeah.
like that with mine too, but the only difference with jewelry, I think, versus what you deal with, Russell, is most of the time my $10 offers come in like groups of 15. You
Right.
get somebody that's like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and they make me all these offers. If it's on my stuff that I shouldn't have listed anyway, I will take it because it's better than end up in a junk box. That's not the same as
Well,
with shoes.
somebody offered me, $10 on 3 items or something like that, and I combine shipping. I would do that, no questions asked,
Yes, and it's different.
because
I agree with that.
I would make a little bit more. But yeah, combining shipping is a lot better. With jewelry, is just shipping in general is a lot nicer. And then going back to how much are you promoting? It doesn't matter how much you're promoting as much as it matters on what your buying cost is. When you're comping things in the store or wherever you're at, if you just assume a 25% promoted listing rate, so that means eBay's going to get 50% of your money right off the top. If you promote it 15%, you're not giving them as much as you planned for, and you're still in the realm. And if that item can make you your $20 or $30 or whatever your metric profit number is, if it can make that, giving eBay 60% of the cash, which you're not going to give them that much anyway, then you're definitely going to be that's an item to pick up. And if it's not, then don't pick it up. And then it doesn't matter how much you promote.
And that's why, and when he says it doesn't matter, he's not saying 2%. He's saying it doesn't matter if you got to bump it up. You're still fine because you can get out of the item because you were such a low cost of goods. I totally agree with that. If I don't keep my cost of goods low and I start cherry picking, it doesn't work for me. That my model will no longer work for me.
Yep.
And I'm okay with a lower net profit per item metric as long as I'm turning it constantly. And yes, everybody's like, we should work smarter, not harder, because who wants to ship that much? You know what? That's great. And when you get that figured out to churn out $5,000 a week, you let me know because I can't get it figured out. So you know what I do?
Right.
I sit and watch TV and I'm shipping a lot of jewelry boxes. Oh well, because it's part of the beast. It's
Yeah.
not that hard.
It's 340 into 25. The beginning of my example wouldn't have worked if it was much higher of a cost of goods, or it would be
Right.
way more of a hesitation. And then it still could work, but it would feel like
Making the
more
money on the buy is absolutely a true thing. Absolutely.